All right, 7 o'clock. I call the City of Menomonie Plan Commission meeting for Monday, July 28th,
The meeting's about to start.
2025 to order. Will that, Eric, you have roll? You got it? Okay, thank you. Item 1 is, or item 2, minutes for the May 27th, 25 Plan Commission meeting are in your packet. Unless any of the commissioners have any concerns or comments, motion to approve.
Move that be approved.
Thank you. Cody, second. Have a motion on the floor and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next order of business is public comments about agenda items. When you come up to the podium, please sign in. Before you start to speak, please state which agenda item you are speaking about and keep your comments on the topic to under 3 minutes in length. And I would also like to include that commissioners would also appreciate that we don't repeat a lot of stuff during the conversations. If somebody has already commented or made a comment on something and you have to feel the same way, you can just say, I agree with so-and-so, and then add your other comments that you would like to have. So at this time, I'll open up public comments and somebody can come up and start speaking.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jessica White, and my address is E6502 690th Avenue. I live in Red Cedar, and I'm located in 1 mile of the proposed property. I didn't get an agenda because they're gone, so whichever item that is. My family has many concerns with the annexation and rezoning based on the plans to build a data center on that property. So while these are 2 separate issues and will be individually decided on by the council, they're ultimately tied together. Since they are decided upon individually, though, I want to talk about each separately, with the focus being on the annexation and rezoning, since that is what you are considering recommending or not recommending. The reason for annexation and rezoning should be to accommodate a city for growth or to provide municipal services to other areas. It has to be reasonable and not just a way to extend the city's boundaries and monies. From what I understand, annexation follows a certain procedure and legality and then is voted on by the city council. While it was brought forth in a unanimous fashion by those affected, I do question its continuity to the city of Menomonie. There is a type of annexation called balloon annexation, and this refers to a situation where the territory being annexed is connected to the main city or town by a strip of land. Ballooning has been found to be illegal when challenged in court and does void annexations, especially if its main purpose is to reach a desired property. If you believe this land, however, does not violate continuity, and you recommend this area of land for annexation, then let's discuss its rezoning. Taking the data center off the table and just looking at rezoning the property itself. My family and I live in Red Cedar and see this property out of our window every single day, and we have environmental, economic, and community concerns about rezoning it. It's a beautiful piece of fertile farmland, currently with crops of corn and soybeans, and where animals flourish. Labeling properties as agricultural protects them as such, and I'm honestly not sure why this area would be rezoned when the city currently has over 120 acres of available industrial land sitting vacant and available for sale. These pre-planned areas of business the city has already created should absolutely be utilized first before rezoning valuable piece of agricultural land into an urban and industrialized zone. As a side note, I do wonder if the farmers involved would have asked to annex and rezone the property if they were not approached first for the purchase of the land. My thoughts are honestly that they're going to make a lot of money if the data center gets built, and so will the city of Menomonie, with the residents of the rural town of Red Cedar being the ones that are affected. I know my time here is limited, so I will touch briefly on the data center. First, I wish we had transparency on who the company is so the residents can do their due diligence and research. Because currently, my thoughts are that regardless of what land this data center is built on, the negatives seem to far outweigh the benefits. They are water consumption, even with a closed circuit, electrical consumption, 24-hour-a-day noise, light, and air pollution, amount of land that is consumed due to its size, but with an actual lack of actual jobs in its building, home prices going down, and think about the extended future growth of the city of Menomonie for other businesses that want to come in if we allow this one company to monopolize those resources. I want to thank you for your time, and I do hope you consider my words when discussing recommendation of this property. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Anybody else?
My name is Kat Henderson. I live at E6075 708th Avenue. I agree with everything that she said, but on the point of transparency, I would like to see with the data center that we understand exactly how the city of Menomonie is planning to accommodate the water and the electricity and all of the downsides that come with a data center. Where is the plan that tells us exactly how we're going to accommodate this without negatively impacting the rest of the residents? That's all I got.
Thank you.
I'm Susan Harrison, a resident of Red Cedar Township at E5510 680th Avenue. In 2015, I served as a vice chair of the Town of Red Cedar's Planning Commission. On December 7th of 2015, the commission recommended to the town board the adoption of the update to the Town of Red Cedar's comprehensive plan. At that time, the Planning Commission, we had worked for over a year to create a new zoning map showing proposed land use and to rewrite the comprehensive land use plan. We took into consideration if you're going to have industry expand, we don't want to give up agricultural land to do that. So what we proposed, and we rewrote the comprehensive land use plan and had public meeting at that time to gather comments regarding the plan for preferred zoning. The Town of Red Cedar preferred land use map was approved December 14th of 2015 and adopted by the town board on January 18, 2016. Page 54 of that comprehensive plan for the Town of Red Cedar includes the Town of Red Cedar preferred land use map. That map clearly indicates that the preferred zoning for the land under consideration on the east side of County Road B from Interstate 94 north to 690th Avenue as light commercial and light industrial. This is the preferred zoning that's indicated in your town and city development map, page 58 of the packet you got for tonight's meeting. Since the proposed ordinance from 2025-05 rezoning certain lands along County Road B between 650th and 690th from agriculture to restricted industrial, one was thoughtfully discussed and considered and how it would, yes, give up some agricultural at that time, but that's where industry should go rather than out later into the agricultural community. It was thoughtfully discussed during the creation of a comprehensive plan for the Town of Red Cedar, and two, is in line completely with the Town of Red Cedar's approved preferred zoning for that area. Therefore, I urge you to please recommend the proposed rezoning ordinance for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Is there anybody else that'd like to speak?
Hi, my name is John Carpenter. I just live on the north side of town of Menomonie. I'm not that old, so I haven't really seen the world turn all that many revolutions, but one thing I do understand is that we do have a lot of other things that we could be focusing on instead of what seems to be ruining some people's, livelihoods and some pretty good environments and stuff like that, because if these things do go defunct, 9 times out of 10, they just sit or they end up it never ends up getting back to the way it naturally and beautifully was. We have our own infrastructure here that we have algal blooms on our lake, and it smells like crap when you go riding your bike at the wrong time of season. If they're too close to the lake, people don't use it. And there's a guy out by Eau Claire that went door to door and crowdfunded money, aeration units, and fixed his whole lake. We could do that with solar and have the city check on it once a month and incorporate all of that revenue by being a lake town and endorsing all of that and embracing that. But instead it feels like we're focusing on the wrong problems at hand when we could be putting all that energy elsewhere. So that's really all I got.
I don't know if you're starting on 21st Street yet, but I'm Tammy Prue. I'm from 627 Fagstad Street near Alliance Church. And I actually have a lot of questions about the commercial rezoning of Alliance Church. And I don't know if there's a way that that could be answered in writing so that we can actually have something in front of us to know what's going to happen. Some of my questions are, why is there a need to make all 4 lots commercial? Will this affect our property values? Will this affect our taxes? Can this be zoned back to residential if the daycare or the school does not work or is not successful? And what is going to be used, what exactly is going to be used for the daycare? Is this going to be something that's community, or is it only church, the Alliance Church? And then my last question is, what is the 5-year plan with this being rezoned commercial, and what is the 10-year plan, or what is farther out even? Because if that property happens to be sold, then we're stuck with a commercial property that anything could come in there. And as a resident within that neighborhood, I'm not sure I want anything going in there. So I'd really like some consideration as to it being rezoned a commercial property. I'm not opposed to a daycare or a school coming into Alliance, but I really want to have some of the facts before we make those decisions and how it's going to affect all of the residents in that area. And that's all I have.
Hi, my name is Kenya Holderbecker. I grew up at E6075 708th Avenue next to Henderson Excavating, and I stand to inherit the land that that business and that home sits on someday. And I have a lot of questions about what happens in the future with this data center going in. Our water table, our business, and our livelihoods depend on our property value and our land use the way it is now. So any negative impact that we approve today impacts my future and my future children's future. And as someone who grew up on that land and is a 5th generation community member on that land, I have a lot of concerns about the legacy that is being handed down from my family and that I will someday pass on to my own family. So please consider the long-term impacts that this decision will have on the future of our community. Thank you.
My name is Lee Theron, and I'm at 620 Fagstad Street, right across from the Alliance Church. So I'm speaking to Agenda Item C. The changing to any commercial in that neighborhood is something that I think takes a lot of hard decisions, and every stone should be turned. There are a lot of negatives that I see for that. Frankly, we moved there 8 years ago. We bought the property because we like the neighborhood. It's a residential neighborhood, and all my neighbors agree with that. I've spoken with 4 close neighbors in the last couple days, and they all agree that that property should not be made commercial property. And once you do ingest an area of commercial within a residential area, you're opening the door for further commercial development. So it would ruin the residential atmosphere that we have there now. So I'm speaking against rezoning of that property of the Alliance Church. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Charles Warner. I recently moved into the town of Menomonie up by Red Cedar at N6802, 539th Street. I have a lot invested in this town. First of all, I grew up in Hudson, and then I went to UW Stout, graduated from there, and I'm currently pursuing my master's at Stout as well. I'm a young guy entering my career, starting a family, and we bought a house along the Red Cedar River. A gentleman before mentioned that it's seen some struggles, which it has. And my main priority is melding the business world with the environmental world. Not enough people in business understand the environmental side, and not enough environmentalists understand the business side. And so what I see here is I see that this is probably going to succeed in the long run. And so what I care about is protecting our natural resources, our property values, and our community. So there's multiple ways that we can do that, and one of them is actually guided by WEPA, the Wisconsin Environmental Protection Act, and that states specifically that a comprehensive environmental impact statement must be done prior to any rezoning, and the community has to have proper time to review that, and I'm a big proponent that I would like to see that at least. So down the road, the community of Menomonie could really benefit from the data center possibly. But we need to make sure that that happens, right? So that can take forms in many different ways. Maybe education help for our students. My son is 1 year old and about to go into the school system in a few years. So securing wins like that, help for us residents in the form of tax relief. Some way that business can give back to us as a community for allowing them in. We are rezoning our land. Red Cedar is annexing my land away from our town. So for all those, I believe that concessions are in order. So if you guys review that properly, that's all I ask. And thank you very much for your time.
James Cameron. I represent Menomonie Alliance Church, and I want to speak to agenda item C for rezoning from residential to commercial. The purpose for that is in partnership with the YMCA in Menomonie to offer daycare services for the community. It's not just a church function. This is for the community. But in order for the YMCA to receive funds to help offset the cost for daycare programming, they need to operate under a commercial zone. We do not have any plans at the church to sell property, to construct buildings. It's still going to operate as a church, but in order to help our partnership with the YMCA, we are asking for the rezoning purpose. We did send letters out to all the neighbors within the neighborhood prior to the city sending that as well, kind of explaining that. And if any of those neighbors want to speak with me, I'd be glad to sit down and explain that process a little bit more and answer any questions that the Planning Commission may have. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the Plan Commission. My name is Adam Akala. I live at 1411 Wilson Street in Eau Claire, and I am the Director of Economic Development for Dunn County. I'm here tonight to speak on items 4A and 4B, the proposed annexation and rezoning of 324 acres, and to add some additional context regarding business attraction. In my role, I monitor economic trends and position our county to win new business investment. Over the last year, and especially within the last 6 months, I've witnessed a dramatic shift in the kinds of opportunities coming to Wisconsin. The small requests for information, or RFIs, have slowed. The market has changed. The majority of inquiries now coming through the state's economic development channels are from large companies looking for large, project-ready tracts of land. This isn't a hypothetical trend. This is our current reality, and right now, Menomonie is on the sidelines. Let me give you some concrete data. Since March of this year, Dunn County has received RFIs for industrial projects requiring 75 to 100 acres, which was later modified to 150 to 250 acres. Another for 100 acres. A third for 125 to 450 acres. A fourth for over 60 acres. And just last month, a fifth for over 240 acres. These 5 opportunities represent more than 60% of all industrial prospects we have seen since March. The message from the market is clear. Companies are looking for space. The hard truth is that we are not equipped to compete for these projects. The city of Menominee's largest city-owned contiguous industrial parcel is approximately 73 acres. Based on our current inventory, we were only positioned to seriously respond to one of those 5 major inquiries. We are being passed over for communities that are simply better prepared. Furthermore, this is not a random act. This is a logical, strategic decision that builds on years of careful planning. As your own meeting packet confirms, this area is designated as future industrial in the city's comprehensive plan. This location is also strategically positioned next to significant road and utility infrastructure upgrades that our community has already made to support industrial growth. Economic development is a highly competitive process, and having development-ready land is key to seizing on opportunities once they arise. To win the jobs and investment of tomorrow, we must have the foresight to prepare today. This annexation and rezone is our opportunity to do just that. It is the single most important step we can take to ensure the future economic prosperity of Menomonie. This is why the proposal before you tonight is so critical. This isn't about just one project. It's about making Menomonie competitive for the next project and the one after that. Annexing and rezoning this land creates the very asset that the market is demanding. It allows us to get back in the game. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Adam.
My name is Frederick Menz. I've lived here about 55 years. I was at the university for a good 35 of those years. I live at N6885, 513th Street in Red Cedar, in out near Cedar Falls. This is where my son lives. We also own a house over here in Red Cedar Township as well. And I have some concerns about the issues under items 4A and 4B, and I'd like to reinforce the comments of earlier folks who have testified before you. I concur with many of their points about how this is going to negatively impact a community that I've grown rather accustomed to and also quite fond of. My concerns are at the technical level for this particular project. I don't understand all of the technicalities of it. I have followed a little bit the development of these data centers in other parts of the country, and I've looked with a little bit of anguish over how they don't always live up to the anticipation for the communities that they go into, and also that in many cases they fail to meet their own goals in terms of economic and environmental protections. So one of the two things that comes across my mind when I think of these data centers, and I'm a data person, I've worked in my whole career working with large information, and I know what computing power means. But I wonder, what is the stipulation in the agreements that are being offered by the company whom I know nothing about for decommissioning the plants if they do not live up to their expectations? These are huge, huge plants that have very little utility beyond the purpose for which they're being built. That being one thing. The second is, how are they really looking at either heat capture instead of cooling? All of the issues ecologically involve using massive amounts of water from our water table to cool down their operation. And I'm not sure that that's the most efficacious way to go about handling the heat issue. So again, these are just two examples I'm giving out, but I have reservations about the worthiness of this particular endeavor, even though I do feel some allegiance to the gentleman that just spoke about the need for having planned space and planned areas whereby we can draw in good economic partners into the area. We all need the resources that new industries can bring to our population for our current generation and going on into the future. I do not think that this is the best possible solution right now. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, and thank you for your attention this evening. My name is Steve Hogseth. I live at 614 Woodridge Court, Menomonie. And I am here, I think I have kind of a unique background that lends itself very much to this proposed data center. spent 4.5 years in the refrigeration business, which has to do with power, diesel power, and heat transfer. 7 years in the plastics industry. I was responsible, mechanical engineering background, manager most of my career. In cooling plastics processing machinery, and 21 years at Cray Research, SGI, Hewlett Packard, responsible for cooling supercomputers, cooling them and powering them. So I know a lot about the energy going into this and the cooling required. The primary reason I'm here tonight, I spent a lot of time this afternoon, several hours, going over this and making notes, and I'm going to kind of set my notes aside a little bit. And I want to caution everybody, those of you making this decision. I could go back maybe 80 years ago when DDT was discovered, and how after a few decades we found out what a mistake DDT was, even though the person won a Nobel Prize for DDT. And we solved the problem with DDT. PFAS and PFOS, we're talking about a fluorine-based product. This has been around for Teflon probably goes back the same amount of time. And it wasn't until recent years that we found out what this is doing to our drinking water. Now, there is a tendency for big corporate America to really do a lot of fast tracking and get ahead of the game and not pay attention to the consequences of what some of these developments might make. Now, we have an administration in the White House that is anti-EPA, does not have a capable person running the EPA. We have a president who says climate change is a hoax, even though we've known for 45 years that it is real. And this same president wants to deregulate AI to fast track it, so we can.
Excuse me, you're
Yeah.
kind of getting off the subject with
No, I'm
talking
not.
about our president and stuff.
I don't think I am.
That's all relevant.
I believe so as
I
well.
think it's very
You should
relevant.
be able to finish. These are the times we live in.
Excuse me, you
Yes.
need to be quiet in the gallery and let the chairperson speak to the person speaking at the podium. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we have not, as a society, paid attention to the consequences that a lot of our technological decisions have created. And the rate that this, globally, the rate that this is transmitting at is we are, get some numbers here for you here. This is from, let's see. Well, the AI demands, right now, data centers account for 1 to 2% of overall global demand. And the projection is that it's going to hit 21%. I mean, we're going at a rate of incline like this, 21% by 2030. And the amount of energy, the consequences it does to the environment, we've talked about water, we've talked about pollution. It is highly consequential. And I would be happy to send you several links that have a lot of the data, the notes that I've created here tonight.
Excuse me again, Steve. You've gone up to 4 minutes now.
All right. So anyway,
Any closing comments, go ahead and.
my only closing, I have nothing against AI. I know that that's going to be a thing of the future. But we have to regulate it. As much as some people are against anti-regulation, we have to regulate it for the health and well-being of our society.
Do we have anyone else that'd like to speak in public comments?
You're next. Good evening. I'm Bruce Sebo from E6500 690th Avenue, Red Cedar Township. I've had a lot of work done in my life, from a business professor at Stout to head of the technology center at at Phillips Plastics, to my last 12 years of consulting, working primarily in economic impact studies. And we've done a lot of them. We did them in Michigan, Iowa, lots in Wisconsin. And the thing that creates most interest on part of cities and townships in the world is how many jobs are going to be created. Now, if you do the math, you get a lot of input when they build this, construction cost, but the impact only happens if local contractors do these jobs. That brings the money, that brings the jobs, that rotates that money 5 times through the community. So the construction cost, you may get a big blip. If the data center claims at the highest amount of people it's going to employ is 100 people in that data center. So you've now sold 320 acres for less than 1 job per acre. That just doesn't make sense. If that 320 acres was put in, zoned appropriately, you could have many businesses in there that would increase the value of economic development in Menomonie. And you have all sorts of different businesses in there that money would rotate through the community many, many times. So think not only this selling 320 acres at one time, how many jobs are going to be created. I think that's vital for the community to consider. Thank you.
My name's Jeff Heitkamp. I live at E6299 690th Avenue, right across the street. I'm not against something going in that property. I'm against the data center. According to this nice young man over here, we have 5 other possibilities. The data center doesn't make sense to me in any way, shape, or form. Thank you.
Have anyone that'd like to speak in public comments?
Sorry, I didn't sign in yet. I didn't think I needed to. I'm Luann Prochnow. I live at East 6396, 610. We live 3/4 of a mile from the Walmart Distribution Center and the rest of the economic park, 2 miles from the proposed site. My husband and I have been farming there for over 50 years. Actually, it's his home farm. I came to Stout, found him. We won't go into that story. And anyway, we're also a family farm, and our 2 kids are going to be taking over. They're actually farming with us right now. We realized this land was in the city planning, in the 10-year plan, that this was for industrial. When we were approached about the annexation, I've been on the Lake Commission. I've been on a lot of committees in Menomonie. I'm very concerned with water, soil, air, light. I've done a lot of investigating. This is a clean facility. If you see that it'd be the 5th highest for water. We have 4 other ones that are more for water, and this water is going to be turned over and over. It's kind of a catch-22 because don't worry, we're not losing farmland because my husband and I will buy another farm. If you go by our farms, they're beautiful acres. I mean, we take pride in everything. We have our soil tested every year to make sure we're not putting too much into the soil for fertilizer. We make sure that our irrigators are regulated. And it's so important that, yeah, you don't want to give up farmland, but I also belong to a wonderful community. And I think we have to do not in my backyard sometimes. We have to say, no, come in my backyard because it's for the betterment of the community. We're not only bringing more tax dollars into town, I would rather bring more tax dollars into town than have my property taxes go up. I'd rather give opportunities to the students at Stout that have a program that's basically what this data center is going to be. I mean, we have so many opportunities here. I was hoping maybe somebody from Excel and the Menomonie Water Department would come here to speak, and maybe they will do that at the council meeting, I don't know, but that's who we've talked to, that erased my fears of all the stuff that everybody's had about, you know, are we gonna have enough electricity, are we gonna have enough water? I'm just, I don't know if many of you know this, but Exit 45, the restaurant Synergy, that's already been annexed into the city many years ago. And also on the same side as the land where they want to put the data center is a Synergy feed mill. There's also a concrete facility. So we're not like pulling this land out on its own. Now, it's not an island. There's other interest and other community businesses there. So take that into consideration. I wouldn't do anything to hurt our community, and neither would my husband and the other landowners. Thank you for your time.
Do we have anyone else like to speak in public comment?
Hello, my name is Chris Finger, and I live at E5448 784th Avenue, and that's on the Red Cedar. Sure thing. Sorry about that. So I live on the Red Cedar, and I have the joy of biking almost every day from up in that area of our community down to the community garden on the south side of town every day, 12 miles. And I can say that it is amazingly wonderful to bike along the Red Cedar, and it is great to bike along the croplands and farmlands that currently exist along the bike trails that are up in that area. However, I will say that as soon as we hit the industrial park, it's concrete, steel, and asphalt, and it's unpleasant. It's hot. You can hear hum. There's been no reinvestment in trees, diverse wildlife, or nature along that entire area. And if we add to that and compound that problem, nestled between Hoffman Hills and the Red Cedar watershed, we're going to see an asphalt jungle of that entire flat field space. And it will be unpleasant for people to live near and to exist near and to bike through. And it's not going to be what we signed up for when we decided to buy land in that space and in those areas. So I wanted to caution you about the impact of major business in that region. I respect that companies overpromise and underdeliver. And I'm a pro-business person. I do believe in the power of small business, having owned 7 small businesses of my own. But I do also know that unless there's promises and actual commitments made to the people that are impacted ahead of time, then this is a very bad idea. A very, very bad idea. So that's my opinion.
Anybody else like to speak in public comments? No, you're just signing in. Last call for public comments? Public comment? Okay.
Let him sign in, then I'll sign in later. My name is Max Willman. I'm on 1015th on 9th Street, just down the road from here. My wife came and told me to speak on behalf of us. We're a pretty young generation coming into Menomonie. We actually are falling in love with this place, and we would like to have a future here. I've worked closely with other academics at UW-Stuff during my time, as well as peers after graduation. A lot of the environmental impacts have been said. Bottom line, I do trust farmers to take better care of the land than corporations. I know we have steel mills as well as concrete plants around those areas. The difference is data centers are relatively a new industry still kind of going on in comparison to how long concrete of steel have been around historically worldwide. Like generally most of the people I talk to my age range, pretty hopeless. Like We're just trying to stay alive. And I guess what I'm trying to say is we don't want to worry about the environmental impacts. So my wife came here because it's just end of the line. We just wanted to give our piece that we want to keep this town healthy. I think there's better businesses that could go there if it is zoned that way, but a data center is not necessarily going to be that. Realistically, graduating, not many of us students are going to be able to get in there. It's going to be a select few. Maybe there'll be a couple internships at first, but once things start really get going, it's going to slow down, just like every other business. Same thing with my industry, doing digital. I do animation. I also program. Currently, I'm working AV, and that's even slowed down. Doing installations for courthouses and other businesses. I actually was at a data center installing phones last week. And it's, when that thing is not cooling properly, it's hot. That's a lot of greenhouse gases. And like our one peer said too, about like, there's a lot worried about the coolant, but it's about the heat escape. And it's hot. I've grown my life having winters filled with snow. You can't snowmobile anymore. Like, that used to be something me and my dad used to do, but we haven't done that in like almost 5 years because it's just, the weather's never right. It's getting hotter. It's reasonably, I'm going to be living 100-degree summers by the time I'm your age. And I'm going to be crying for the generations after me. And it's a small step that we can do here. That's all I'm trying to say is for this community. So, all right.
Sorry, I don't want to waste your guys' time, but as a younger generation, I do feel like I have to touch on this. I moved from the Twin Cities.
You had your chance to speak.
I moved from the Twin Cities to Menomonie to start a small business, and it feels like a lot of the small people here are the ones that are going to be affected. And and I'll be done. I just want to remind you guys that humans are reactive by nature. The car was invented before the seatbelt, and the same thing with the Bobcat. That's why people were pancaked in all of those situations, and I do not feel that this is going to be the same way when everybody here sounds like they're going to be hurting. Turn the mic off if you want. No, that's fine. I agree. It still seems like it needs to be heard, and I appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Carl Jolowitz. I live at E4648 30th Avenue in Menomonie. It's about 4 miles south. I don't envy you guys at all. Not one bit. I don't know about the annexations and all this kind of stuff. I'm just a poor taxpayer. And I want to caution that the gentleman said there's 5 other opportunities out here. That's good. That speaks in our favor. Just caution against things that history seems to repeat itself. Large corporations come in, they promise you jobs. Okay? In my lifetime, I've been down here since 1980. I had a wonderful work experience at Swiss Miss for 43 years, in charge of Swiss Miss pudding production. We benefited from some grants, from some changes in economies and scales of things like that, and the business is still here. This is a high-tech industry, and I don't know what anybody's confidence is in high-tech industries. Cell phones? When's the last time you updated one? Probably bought 3 of them in the last couple of years because they're all outdated. They come and they go. My biggest fear is that this becomes another Foxconn. Okay? The state of Wisconsin will be plowing roads and cleaning streets down there for 200 years now in this vacant ghost land that was once going to be the 8th wonder of the world, according to some. I don't know how you make that decisions, but you better ask a lot of questions. You better get some guarantees. and you'd be smart enough to write the contract, so if those things don't come to fruition, the county gets a payback. Okay? I just caution the board, this is one hell of a decision. I'm not against technology, I'm not against going forward, otherwise we'd all have horse and buggy yet. Okay? I understand that. Let's not let this turn into a Foxconn. Here today, gone tomorrow, got my money, out of here. Technology changed, oh, so sorry. And who's left holding the bag? All these people. Thank you for your time.
I will write my name after I'm done. My name is Cindy Theron, and I live at 620 Fagstead Street, across the road from the Alliance Church, and just about directly across from where the proposed 4 residential lots, they're proposing that they become commercial. And it really concerns me. We love our home, we love our neighborhood. Every day, many times a day, we have neighborhood families and children biking and walking along 21st and Fagstead and down across right in front of where they're proposing these commercial lots. It's our neighborhood. That's what, we fell in love with it. And my concern is, can the Alliance Church, they have lots of land there. Could they zone some lots within their land, not on the road that's residential? Could that be zoned as commercial? And what does that mean? Does that mean we could have a gas station there and a gun shop there? I mean, this is residential land, and it just really concerns me that you're considering it. And I would like to know what it means if it is zoned commercial. What type of commercial buildings could be built there? And I guess we don't have enough information. So thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in public comments? Last call for public comment. Public comment portion of our meeting is closed. The next order of business is to consider the recommendation regarding temporary zoning of agricultural district for the proposed annexation of certain lands along County Highway B. Mr. Schofield, could you provide a summary on this topic?
Yes. So at the July 7th City Council meeting, they referred ordinance 2025-04 to the Plan Commission for consideration, specifically on the topic of whether or not agricultural is the appropriate temporary zoning. There's a number of things that I'll get into here in just a second, but I want to be very clear that this ordinance 2025-04 the only portion of it that's up for discussion by the Plan Commission is what the temporary zoning should be. So there are a number of questions that I have in the memo here, and I'm just going to go through. The first is the temporary agricultural district compatible with the applicant's request? I note that the applicant requested temporary ag zoning in their application. Are the land uses that currently exist on the annexation properties, which are farm fields, single-family residential, and a greenhouse that's not currently operating, are those compatible with the temporary ag zoning? So if for some reason if the annexation goes through, but the rezone does not, are they in compliance with that temporary zoning that would be in place? And the answer is yes. The ag zoning allows single-family land uses. It also obviously allows farming, and the proposal before you is consistent with that the ag zoning. Is the proposed temporary agricultural district the most restrictive district that accommodates the existing land use? And the answer to that is no, but. So we have a conservation zoning district that is our most restrictive. That essentially allows golf courses and places for animals. That district is our most restrictive district. However, it doesn't allow the existing land uses on the property. So zoning it as conservation would be more restrictive than the ag, but it wouldn't be consistent with the existing land uses on the property. And then the last one is, what does the city historically use as a temporary zoning classification for newly annexed lands? I can speak from my experience, the last 4 annexations, which I believe date back to 2004, have all been brought in as ag, as the temporary zoning. So what's before you tonight with this agenda item is whether or not the agricultural district is the appropriate zoning for the annexation ordinance. I have in the packet and on your screen here, if you're so inclined, there's a suggested motion. I'm certainly willing to answer any questions that you might have.
Do any of the commissioners have questions for Mr. Schofield? Go ahead, Cody.
So just for my benefit, the benefit of our audience, as far as 4A is concerned, the annexation, that vote tonight is whether or not it'll be classified as ag land when it comes in via annexation. But regardless of how we vote on that tonight, it will go back to city council for a final vote on the annexation itself, right?
Yes, this is a recommendation with respect to the temporary zoning. The city council makes the decision on annexation.
Okay.
We obviously want the city council to have a recommendation for or against the proposed temporary zoning. But this body is not being asked to weigh in on whether an annexation is appropriate. In this case, that's the council's decision.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure of that. Then I'll move to recommend agriculture district be used as the temporary zoning classification within proposed ordinance 2025-04.
Thank you, Cody. Dick, second. All in favor, or we have a motion on the floor and a second, all in favor of said motion?
There's
What?
discussion. Ask them if there's discussion.
Oh, any further discussion?
Just one question, this was 100% direct petition by all property owners.
This was a direct petition by unanimous consent, so all property owners and all renters on the property, all electors signed the petition for annexation.
So the city of Menomonie is not the one that's requesting annexation per se, this is the property owner.
This, correct, this was not brought forward by the city of Menomonie.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have a motion on the floor and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next on the agenda is item 4B. The next order of business is to consider the recommendation regarding rezoning certain lands along County Highway B from agricultural district to restricted industrial. Mr. Schofield, can you provide a summary?
Yes, so just to clarify here, the property that is being proposed to be rezoned in ordinance number 2025-05, sorry, just a second. In 2025-05, are lands on the east side of County Highway B from 650th Avenue or Eagle Point Road to 690th Avenue. There is one parcel on the west side of County Highway B that is included in the annexation request, but not the rezone request. Greg Quilling owns a farmstead just north of the Ellsworth Creamery. He's elected not to participate in the rezone request, only the annexation request. So the area will note that the legal description that's included in the annexation petition and the legal description that's included in the rezone is different. That's because that property was excluded from the rezone request. So that property is proposed to be used as a data center. It can, with this proposal, they're proposing to rezone it to I-1, which is our restricted industrial. There are a number of land uses that are allowed in the I-1 zone. This action, if recommended here and approved by the council, does not assure the data center could be built. There could be other types of land use that, as long as they comply with the I-1 zone, they could be permitted. If it could also, this data center could be built and 25 years from now can be converted to some other type of use. So the request before you is not build the data center or don't build the data center. The request that's before you is whether or not to rezone the property from the temporary ag, as we just discussed, to the I-1 zone. I have a couple of questions here, and then I'll go through these. So the first question is the restricted industrial district compatible with the applicant's request? The request was specifically for the I-1 district. The second is the proposed land use compatible with the proposed industrial district? The industrial district, the I-1 industrial district does allow data centers. It allows warehousing, storage or warehousing of materials or products. And specifically, the term warehousing shall mean any of the following, and there's a number of things. D, establishments used primarily for the storage, management, processing, and transmission of digital data, which houses computer networks, equipment, systems, servers, appliances, and other associated components related to digital data storage and operations. So the proposed land use of data center does comply with the I-1 zone. Is the proposed restricted industrial district, I-1, the most restricted district that allows data centers? And yes, it is. We do allow data centers in the I-2 and in the I-3 districts. Those allow for more and more intense land uses. An I-3 district allows pretty much anything except for animal rendering. It's a pretty permissive district. I-1 is our most restrictive industrial district. So yes, it is. This is the most restrictive district that allows for the proposed data center. Is the proposed rezoning consistent with the city's adjacent zoning districts? I'm going to pan down to a map here. So this is a copy of our zoning map on the west side of County Highway B from 708th to 650th. That is all zoned as I-1. So essentially everything from Hurlburt to just south of Henderson Excavating, that's all zoned I-1, as is the proposed rezone. To the southwest is zoned I-3. So that's where Anderson Windows Distribution, that's zoned I-3. I do note that the Quilting property will become an island of ag in the middle of this. We are generally trying to avoid spot zoning. In this case, it's kind of a spot unzoning. Mr. Quilting has been explained that it would be appropriate to come in with the same zoning. He's elected not to. So in this case, he's kind of down-zoned himself by not participating in the proposed rezoning. Is the proposed rezoning consistent with the city's comprehensive plan? So on the city's comprehensive plan, and I'm going to zoom into this area, we show future industrial in all areas north of 650th Avenue. There was some discussion earlier about what the town of Red Cedar's comprehensive plan shows. This is not going to be in the town of Red Cedar. This will be in the city of Menomonie if the annexation and the rezone are approved, right, if the annexation is approved. So the city's comprehensive plan governs and should be of guidance. So in this case, the city shows industrial, everything north of 650th. We use this kind of bubble mentality here. We don't show individual properties because development doesn't occur by single properties. Usually there's an annexation or a rezone or a redevelopment of existing areas, and so we show kind of the flavor of the area, but we show industrial in that vicinity. Is the proposed rezoning consistent with the town city development map? So prior to my time with the city, I believe starting in 2022 or maybe even 2021, the town of Red Cedar, the town of Menomonie, town of Sherman, town of Tanner, have met on numerous occasions. We meet quarterly, and they prepared this town-city development map. This map shows the entire 324 acres of proposal as town/city future development. So there's been some suggestion that this proposal isn't consistent with the town-city development map. That's not accurate. This entire property, this entire 324 acres is shown as town/city development. It wasn't clear at the time when this was coming that who might choose to develop in that area and whether their development was consistent with the city or with the town. At this point, you have before you a city development in that area that is consistent with the town-city development map. So those are kind of the 6 major comments. We obviously we don't operate in a vacuum, and so we see folks that post things on social media, and so I wanted to address a couple of the things here. The Town of Red Cedar Comprehensive Plan. So first of all, the city is not obligated to follow the Town of Red Cedar Comprehensive Plan for obvious reasons and not obvious reasons. The first of which is that our zoning doesn't match their zoning. So we can't rezone and zone based on their comprehensive plan because we have different types of zoning. And I would note that the Town of Red Cedar participated in the development of the town-city development map and reviewed it on at least 8 occasions. Development of farmland. So in 2022, the USDA did a, let's see if I can pull it up here. They did a census of agriculture. So in 2022, and I presume that the current numbers are similar, there were 260,000 acres of cropland. This is in Dunn County alone, of which 51,000 were irrigated. The 324 acres that's proposed as part of this annexation and rezone equates to 0.12% of all cropland in Dunn County, and I'm not including woodlots and pasture land. This is just cropland. As I believe approximately 160 of the acres is irrigated. So the irrigated acres, this development pertains to approximately 0.31% of the irrigated section. I'm going to stay on the farmland for just a second here, and this is not in my packet, but folks have expressed some concern about the amount of water that's being proposed. So a lot of data centers and the earlier data centers use what's called evaporative cooling. They bring water in, they transmit heat to that water, then they bring it outside of the building, and then it's allowed to evaporate. It's a electrically efficient process, but it uses a tremendous amount of water. I've seen folks that have quoted up to 4 million gallons a day of water for evaporative cooling systems. That's not what's proposed here. What's proposed here is a closed loop system that would use, on average, 75,000 gallons per day of water. Just as a comparison, that would be the 5th largest in the city of Menomonie, behind Cardinal FG, 3M, ConAgra, and UW. So this would not be off-scale high in terms of water usage. I did also grab here this morning a copy. There is a high-capacity well on the property. That high-capacity well in 2024 pumped a little over 30 million gallons of water over a 3-month period. That high-capacity well equates to approximately 330,000 gallons per day. So this proposed development will actually use about 75 to 80%, and I'm not good with math on my feet, but we'll actually use less water than the current usage of that land. Of the southern half of that land, the northern half is not irrigated. So, for what that's worth. Additionally, for farmland, the 324 acres, I was curious what that compared to in terms of what land is currently in the CRP program. In Dunn County, and I believe this is as of 2022, there there was at that time 3,720 acre program. Now, some of those are not areas that folks are being paid not to farm. There's areas that'll have filter strips and riparian buffers and that sort of thing. But I think my point is that there was some discussion at our council meeting about that we were going to all starve. I think that's maybe an overstatement. As far as the energy usage goes, the city does not operate an electrical utility. Excel Energy and Dunn Electric have electric services in the area. I believe the developer is working with either or both of those folks. The Wisconsin Public Service Commission will review any sort of improvements that need to be done and making sure that those things are, the costs of those are attributed to the developer and not ratepayers, so the ratepayers aren't paying an exorbitant amount of money to support improvements that are needed for this development. So you have before you a recommendation for ordinance 2025-05. What the council has for you is a recommendation either for or against the proposed rezoning from ag to I-1 zoning. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any of the commissioners have questions for Mr. Schofield?
I just want to make clear that if this is rezoned, it doesn't necessarily mean that a data center is going to be going in. It could be something else, could be nothing. Is that right?
That is correct.
If the data center is looking at coming in here, are they asking for any incentives at this time? I was thinking somebody else mentioned Foxconn, and I remember what a boondoggle that was when our Governor Goofy at that time was going to spend $3 billion to bring in Foxconn. Ended up giving them $80 million for 1,000 jobs, which in my mental math is right. That's about $100,000 a job. So is this data center, everybody else asking for any incentives?
We will, I'm sure, at some point be having a discussion about incentives and about TIF districts. What's before the commission at this time is simply the rezoning.
Go ahead, Deb.
Just to restate what was asked on the previous motion, this is also coming from the property owners, but also Balloonist LLC is included in this request?
Yes, so the property owners.
As the parties that are requesting the zoning change from agricultural to industrial.
That's correct.
Just to clarify, so if it is a data center that comes here in the future, is it the city council that would ultimately make that decision, thumbs up or thumbs down?
If the rezoning is approved, anything that's allowed in the I-1 zone is allowed on the property as permitted as of right development. So we don't, not every development does not come before the city council as long as it meets the zoning classification.
Any further questions or comments? Yeah.
I would, Mr. Chairman, I would recommend approval of the proposed ordinance 2025-05.
Thank you, Dick. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Steve, thank you. Any further discussion or comments? You have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor of said motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Same sign. Motion passes. We'd like to take about a 5-minute recess now to allow folks to wish to depart at this time, so we don't and not to interrupt the rest of our proceedings. Thank you. Attention. Mr. Mayor, would you please? He doesn't hear me. All right, our 5-minute recess is over. Randy? Mr. Mayor, our 5-minute recess is over.
Oh, you guys started?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, our next order of business is to consider a recommendation regarding rezoning certain lands along 21st Street and 7th Avenue from single-family residential to local commercial. Mr. Schofield, can you provide a summary for that?
Yes, so I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit to show you the location map. So the property in question is the Menomonie Alliance Church. It's approximately, let's say, 4 blocks north of Stout Road, behind the Mayo Health Systems campus. It's off of 21st Street North and 7th Avenue North. Just to answer one of the questions that came up, I just want to be clear here. These 4 parcels on the north side along the 7th, the parking lot of the building actually is partially on those lots. So even if they were left as R1, they would not be buildable as R1 unless that parking lot was shrunk in its size. So just to clarify one thing there. So the property owner and the prospective tenant have requested rezoning from single-family residential R1 to local commercial B2 for the property in the southeast quadrant of 21st Street and 7th Avenue. City ordinance, proposed ordinance 2025-06, if adopted, would complete the rezoning. The City Council introduced this ordinance and referred it to the Plan Commission for recommendation on whether this was consistent with the city's growth plan. So there's a number of questions that need to be considered with an annexation or a rezone request like this. Is the proposed local commercial district compatible with the applicant's request? The applicant requested the B2 district. The second is the proposed land use compatible with the proposed local commercial. So as of right now, the property is in the R1 zone. So churches, public and parochial schools, public libraries, public education and cultural institutions are allowed in the R1 district. Also in the R1 district, public recreational and community center buildings and grounds such as parks, playgrounds, golf course, and swimming pools. Fitness center would be allowed in the B2 district as a pass-through from the B1 district, which is a fitness center. Also private businesses and commercial schools as a pass-through from the B1. And then commercial recreational uses other than as a fitness center. So as of this time, the applicants have requested to use this as a daycare. I think most of us are familiar with the YMCA business model, and generally speaking, there's some recreational components to it. So knowing that, my guess is that their request is eventually to provide some fitness space. The B2 district is consistent with both the proposed use, which is the daycare. The churches are allowed also in the B2 district, so that would still be okay. And then some fitness center kind of components would be allowed in the B2 district. Is the proposed B2 district the most restrictive that accommodates the proposed land use? The B1 district would allow for daycares, but it would not allow for some of the other components, like the fitness center would not be allowed in just in the straight B1. Or sorry, the commercial recreational uses other than the fitness center would not be allowed in the B1. Is the proposed rezoning consistent with the city's adjacent zoning districts? So in the packet, I'll pull it up here. There are a number of land uses adjacent to this. To the north, northeast, and west is zoned R1. To the south and southeast is zoned R2. So that's more of a multifamily, limited multifamily district. East of that is zoned R3, so on the east side of 24th and the south side of 4th, this is zoned R3. And then as you get into the Mayo Health System campus, that is zoned B2, so that's approximately 500 feet to the south at the nearest point. Is the proposed rezoning consistent with the city's comprehensive plan? The comprehensive plan shows institutional as the existing and proposed land use on this property. This is the property here, which is blue, and that's institutional. So you can certainly argue that a for-profit daycare is no longer institutional use, and that would be something that you folks would have to kind of weigh as you look at this proposal. Is the proposed land use consistent with historical use of the property? So I graduated from Menomonie High School in 1998. Most of the kids in my neighborhood, I grew up about a half a mile from this site, most of the kids in my neighborhood went to Alliance School. There was a school on that property for, I believe, 20 to 25 years. I think it closed maybe in 2005, 2010, somewhere in there. So the proposed land use of a daycare center is certainly consistent with the historical land use of the property as an elementary school. So before you tonight is to make a recommendation for or against proposed ordinance 2025-06, which would change the zoning of this property from single-family residential to local commercial B2 district.
Thank you, Mr. Schofield. Any of the commissioners have any questions?
Just have a technical question. Why wouldn't this be more of a conditional use permit instead of a change in zoning?
There are a number of land uses that are allowed as a conditional use. This is not one of them.
Well, my understanding is right, they're not planning on putting up another building now. They just want to use the facility, the classrooms that were already there.
That is correct. I believe so there's an existing building, I think it's been expanded since this sketch here. So this is the existing building. My understanding is that the YMCA at this time would be leasing everything east of this eastern hallway. Okay, now that may of course change. I mean, once the zoning is changed, we talked about on the last agenda item, once the zoning is changed, anything allowed under the B2 is allowable in this location.
After teaching school for 35 years and having Martinsons as kids, I know that quite often there's playground equipment. Are they gonna have any outside playground equipment, do you know?
There is a playground on the property, and that would be used for this.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lowell.
So if that, it has to be on a for-profit, so a commercial lot, they're saying, can you not carve out that building as a commercial piece and leave the rest on as is? I know that's not what the request is.
Yeah, I mean theoretically you could rezone all but the 4 lots along the north side, but the parking is part of the use of the building, and that northern parking lot is partially on those 4 lots.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jack.
My concern is that I'm looking now at zoning under B1 and B2, and there are some uses that are allowable under those and some conditionally permitted use that I think would be totally inappropriate for a residential area, which unfortunately this property is located in, basically, except if you go down to the Mayo building, which is along Stout Road, and that entire Stout Road is zoned as business. And I understand that at the present time, the church and YMCA does not intend on building or using it. They intend to use the existing building and the facilities there. But once that is zoned, like has been mentioned, once that is zoned B2, now, somewhere down the road, that can certainly be utilized for any of these, anything from mobile home sales and service, automobile sales, bowling alley, drive-in restaurant, excuse me, any of those uses could be on that property. And I have a difficulty with it. I applaud the daycare center and I applaud the church for making some accommodations to have them have a daycare center there. But I just don't think, and I'm also looking at this and thinking, this is pretty close to spot zoning. And if we were to, like as Mr. Prane mentioned, to try to carve out the church, that would definitively be, I guess that would be the definition of spot zoning, to carve out one building in amongst a lot and try to make it work that way. My concern is that it's located in a residential area. The church and the school are permitted in any zoning district. But the businesses that would be allowed under B1 and B2, I think would be totally incompatible with that neighborhood. I would have difficulty supporting this zoning change, though I applaud and I wish the daycare center could be a conditionally permitted use in that building. But to change the zoning for that entire parcel, no, I don't think that's appropriate.
Thank you, Dick. Steve, go ahead.
If, for example, the church did a long-term lease with them, would daycare specifically be prohibited if they were to do that in that section, if they had a long-term lease with the church? And I guess the second part of the question, is there a distinction between profit and nonprofit agencies? And I'll leave the second question to Ben. The first question is, in an R1 zone, I'm trying to think of a good example, but an back up. All of the other daycares that we have in the city are located in either a B1 or a B2. Little Sprouts, Bouncing Babies, Cool Kids, there's one up on, at the corner of Wilson and Cedar Falls that I'm blanking on right now. All of our other non-in-home daycares are located in the B1 or B2 district. If we start to allow commercial daycares in the R1 zone, I think we're opening ourselves up to someone at the end of Elm Avenue wanting to open up a daycare off the tee box to hole number 3. The amount of traffic that comes in and out of a daycare is obviously morning and night. There's drop off and pickup. You have some folks that the school bus comes in and drops off kids in the middle of the day. There's a fair amount of traffic that comes in there, and so allowing that use in the say problematic, though, is it specifically prohibited? And I'm guessing with YMCA that is a not-for-profit entity, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just trying to look for other alternatives. Yeah, so our zoning is permissive, not prohibitive, if that makes sense. So we allow certain uses, we don't disallow uses except as we get into the very dense, like the I-3, there's some things that are not allowed in that district. I guess I'd defer to Ben on the question of the for-profit, not-for-profit.
Is your question in regard to the specific zoning request, whether it matters if it's for-profit or not for-profit?
Yes.
I don't believe it does. In the definition of fitness center, it would say an establishment that for-profit provides its primary purpose services are basically for physical exercise. Beyond that, it's not really contemplated in that requesting zoning classification.
Any more questions or concerns, comments? Go ahead, Cody.
Personally, I'm reluctant for all of the reasons stated. You know, it's B2. You can have a lot more than just a daycare and a church there. But I know that childcare is an extremely needed service. And so I'm leaning yes, just because we need more childcare in the area. And I think it's really important that we have creative ways to bring more childcare facilities to Menomonie.
Thank you, Cody. Hearing no more questions or comments, now would be the time for someone to make a motion.
I'm gonna make a motion that we recommend favorably the rezoning.
Thank you, Dennis. Yeah, second, Cody, second that. Got a motion on the floor, seconded. Any more questions or comments, concerns?
I would just like to reiterate that if you put yourself, I realize, and as I said previously, that the daycare center I fully support, and we, like I mentioned, we really need it. But I think you have to put yourself in the place of these property owners that are surrounding this property, the residential people, and the potential of what could be developed at some time in the future. This is not, we're not just doing it for this one entity for a daycare. This is being rezoned, that entire parcel is being rezoned into business 1 and business 2. And if you haven't, you should look at the zoning ordinance and see what is allowed in those districts, and if you would want that in your residential neighborhood. That this is totally inappropriate for this area.
Go ahead, Steve.
I don't disagree that daycare certainly is a big need, but the biggest determining factor for me is number 4, is it consistent with adjacent zoning districts? And it's not. I agree with Dick that it just doesn't fit there because of what the potential is in the future.
Go ahead.
I would agree with those comments as well, and we grant conditional use permits for lots of things, at least on Board of Zoning Appeals, and it seems like we have an opportunity perhaps to change. If that was an option right now, instead of rezoning it forever, I would wholeheartedly support this, and I can tell you for a fact, and I sit on Dunn County Economic Development and Greater Menomonie Development, one of the biggest things that comes up is a need for childcare in our community. And that's not even debatable. There's a clear need. So, but I'm very reluctant to do this to adjacent property owners just because you're rezoning it forever. So,
Maybe I'm confused then a little bit too. So we're saying childcare. What does that mean? I was thinking this was going to be more after-school stuff. Am I wrong with that?
As I understand, this is a full day daycare. So drop off the child at 6:30, 7 o'clock, pick the child up at 5 o'clock. I would know the applicant is here if you wanted to ask questions. Do it, suspend the rules, but just so you're not relying on my recollection of my discussions with them.
I would be in favor of that. I'd like to know what hours of operation would be and how that would impact, the adjacent residents.
Do I come up front?
You have a second for that suspension?
And
Need a
someone,
second for that?
if one of the members can make a motion to.
I'll make the motion to
suspend the
suspend the
rules.
rules
Thank
and
you.
allow the next lady.
We have a second on the motion?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Amy Peterson Foss with the YMCA of the Chippewa Valley.
Can you hold up just a moment, please? They gotta vote on
Oh,
the.
so sorry.
No, it's quite all right.
Yeah,
Just
Mark.
asking for a vote. A motion and a second on the floor.
Okay.
Now we gotta take a vote.
Could you repeat the motion so it's clear with everybody?
Lowell, can you repeat your motion, please?
Motion to suspend the rules to allow the representative from the YMCA to explain their proposal.
Okay. Motion. Steve, second. Mark? We got a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor of said motion, say aye.
Aye.
That's the part I missed.
You're good, you're good. Thank you.
Go ahead.
All right, still Amy Peterson Foss with the YMCA of the Chippewa Valley. Our intention here is we were invited in for the Chamber of Commerce, and one of the big focuses in that meeting was childcare and just the need for it in this area, and how do we support the workforce by allowing parents to work to have that availability and opportunity. And so for us, it wasn't us coming in, it was us asked to be in, and that's kind of where we presented ourselves then. And so the initial use, what we're looking to do, starting the school year, because childcare is really difficult, right? It's hard to get in, it's hard to start up, like even with this timeline, like we're working really hard to do it. And it's to serve the community here, it's to serve the city of Menomonie. And so initially this first year, what we'd be looking at doing is just aftercare. We'd be offering that aftercare because the need that was brought to us is the current need isn't being served. And then there were two different things where I don't know if that made a difference between the conditional use that I'll just kind of point out as well. And so with doing an unlicensed childcare, there are certain restrictions that we can and can't do. So you can't serve more than 3 children under the age of 7 without being a licensed childcare. And so when I had approached David and said like, hey, here's the plan, the reason we want to do and choose to do that in our other spaces as well is a couple reasons. So we can serve 5 and 6-year-olds because that is a large need that the area has. And then the other reason is we're able to accept child care assistance. And so what that does is further supports your community here too, with being able to have that financial backing and support. So that means that parents can then get the state assistance for child care with that licensure. So there's a lot of things that we have to do and go through to get that space licensed, and obviously making sure that we shoot for the stars as far as compliance and the way things are run. But had a very, I guess, respectful and partnerships with many different areas, and also opening in Elk Mound this year. So I would say a reputable organization, not for profit. So again, I don't know if that's an opportunity. But then the goal would be to say summer camp, right? It's really that school age that we're coming in with to begin with. And so it would be aftercare initially, and then we'd look to serve that need for summer camp as well. So then the after school hours would be after school until 6 p.m. And parents would drop off, pick up anywhere in between, I guess pick up at the end of the day in between there. And then once we move to summer camp, we would do 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. to stay in line with our other offerings that we do between the throughout the Chippewa Valley.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Atkinson, could you repeat the original motion that Mr. Crop made?
Yeah, so we have a recommend approval of proposed ordinance 2025-06 by Mayor Crop, seconded by Mr. Jones.
Okay, so the motion on the floor and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Can I get a count of just like a hand on the ayes? Okay. Okay, got it.
Me too.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And then those against?
All those against. On the vote.
Oh, yeah. All opposed?
Got it.
Three. I guess what, motion passes.
Yes. Motion carries.
Next order of business is Doug Kettner's proposed certified survey map on August Lane. Mr. Schofield?
Yes, so, like the Bill Murray movie of Yore, this property seems to come up again repeatedly. We did a certified survey map on this property. Let me get to the right section of my packet here. So back in 2023, we did a certified survey map approval on this property. Originally, I believe it was 4 lots. Mr. Kettner combined it into 2 lots that are shown on the screen here. Mr. Kettner has now built a home on one of the lots, lot number 2, and has realized he doesn't need the entire lot and would like to sell it to combine it with the remainder of the lot and combine it with the rest of lot 1 to create 2 lots of a different configuration. So lot 4, which is where the home is right now, it will be 1.21 acres. Lot 3 will be 3.02 acres. There's no proposed change in use of the property, so there's no rezone. This does meet our minimum lot size. It meets our minimum lot width. So the proposal that's before you tonight is to approve or deny the proposed certified survey map by Doug Kettner.
Now, there's no city water and sewer out there. Are these lots, was the newly configured lots be large enough to accommodate a septic system? Don't they have to have enough for a backup also?
So they have constructed the septic system. You can see it on this map on kind of the north point of lot number 4. They do have enough room to construct another replacement to the south of that. Lot 3 has, the proposed lot 3 has plenty of room to construct probably several miles out there. And you're correct, this is not served, or the nearest location is approximately Dean and Sue's.
I'm somewhat familiar, it's very heavy soil out there, it's clay, that used to be a brick factory out there. So that would, if they did a septic system, they would have to have a plumber do a perk test and everything?
Yes, and in fact, I think that's why they're looking at doing this, is because lot 1 is the lower of the 2 lots, and so there's fairly high groundwater on most of lot 1, whereas this kind of upper portion, the northeast end of the proposed lot 3 is higher in elevation and therefore less groundwater issues.
Rains down in the neighborhood, okay.
Yes.
Dennis, it looks like they used a mound system, Dennis. It's indicated on the map there, it's a mound system, not a percolating septic system.
Noel?
Just a question, Dave, on the 75-foot required setback, is that factored into the 3 acres when that still is, because it's not buildable, correct? How is that impacted with the lot?
I don't believe that's included in the 3 acres. If we excluded that area, I'm sure they would still go under our 1 acre.
They've already built on one of them, it looks like a yurt when you drive by. It's very unusual architectural design, I'm sure Cedar Core had something to do with it.
I can tell you for sure it's not a yurt, but it is not a, Mr. Kwiatkowski has some name for it, I don't recall. A dome home.
It's a panelized dome home, they came in sections.
Never heard of that before.
Anyone have any more comments or questions, Mr. Schofield? If not, now would be the time to make a motion. Go ahead, Cody.
I'll move to approve Kettner's proposed certified survey map on August Lane as presented.
Okay, we have a,
Second.
all right, Mark, second, thank you. We have a motion on the floor and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
You didn't get a chance to hear my vote, I vote no.
Oh, okay. We'll make that. All opposed?
No.
Dennis?
Got it.
Okay.
Yes, I got it.
Next order of business is Eric and Jaslyn, how you pronounce it? Piesigs? Sizing? Proposed certified survey map on Eagle Point Drive. Mr. Schofield?
Yeah, so the Piesigs own 2 lots, kind of at the south end of Eagle Ridge Drive. This is area north of the interstate, west of Stokey Parkway. They're looking to construct a home, and the proposed location straddles the property line between lots 71 and 72. So we have requested that they prepare a certified survey map to merge the 2 parcels into one single parcel. The existing, they met all of our zoning classifications. The combined parcel does clearly meet all of our zoning classifications. There's no proposed change in use. There would be 1 house instead of 2 houses, so I guess there's a reduction in density out there. Lot 71 is probably on the smaller side, and lot 72 has river frontage. So city staff recommends approval of the certified survey.
Any questions for Mr. Schofield? All right. We have a, Dennis made a motion, Cody, second?
Second also.
We have a motion on the floor and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Ask for discussion.
All opposed? What?
I was gonna say, you gotta do discussion, ask for
Oh.
discussion first.
They were all done discussing.
I guess so.
Motion passes. Next meeting, Mr. Schofield?
Yes, our next meeting will be Monday, August 25th. I expect there to be probably one potential rezone on there, in addition to a couple, at least one CSM.
Anybody want to make a motion to get out, to adjourn? Second. Meeting adjourned. Oh, I didn't even.
Sorry, he's well.
He gets the council meeting adjournment.